Exploring theology, doctrine, and all of the fascinating subjects in between, broadcasting from an undisclosed location, Dead Men Walking starts
now.
Yeah, that tastes good. What do I got in there tonight? I don't know. I think I have a little... What did I put in here? Was that Irish whiskey or is that bourbon? I don't know. Maybe Maker's Mark. That's my go-to. Hey, guys, welcome to Dead Men Walking Podcast. I'm reminiscing about what's in my cup. But, yeah, if you're watching this, if you want to get one of these mugs, you absolutely can on DMWpodcast.com. Support the show. We appreciate it. I have a Christmas special right now. Spend $50 on the site. Get 25% off everything. Go do it. Go do it. Helps us get down to conferences like the Tullahoma Conference coming up in February, which the guy right now that you're looking at, Pastor Braden Patterson, he's going to be there, aren't you?
Yes, sir. I'm super excited for it too. It's going to be an absolute blessing. It's going to be it's going to be wonderful.
So you've been on the podcast a few times. Got to sit with you just for a few minutes when we were in Tullahoma last year. You came on, I don't know, a couple months. It's probably more than that now. It just feels like time flies. But for those who don't know, host of Open Air Theology, still pastor at Valley Baptist.
Yes, sir. Yep.
Still pastor at Valley Baptist Church, host of Open Air Theology podcast. You can find his YouTube videos at Reformed Ex Mormon. And of course, like we said, he's going to be one of the guest speakers for the sessions at the Y Calvinism Conference in Tullahoma, Tennessee, where they're also going to be recording a documentary. There's going to be a debate by James White. It is going to be an all-around good time. We're about to get rowdy down there, have some fun. And welcome back to the podcast, brother.
Oh, it's good to be back. It's a huge blessing that I got invited back. So thank you, Greg.
Yeah, no problem. So I wanted to have you on because we were talking, I think through Facebook or social media, and you said, "Hey, man, I'm hunting right now." I said, "I'm hunting in a couple of days." You're like, "I'm antelope hunting." I said, "I'm just jealous now because I'm just deer hunting." I haven't done really any big game stuff out of state. We have some black bear, bobcat, coyote, fox, and deer on my property in northern Michigan. And I said, cool, well, let's connect and let's talk about that when you get back. And you just sent me a picture last night. You bagged an antelope. You got some meat in the freezer. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. yeah. God was very kind to us this year with providing us with some food for our family. So
absolutely. So I came back without anything because I'm getting to the age now to where I'm about 600 yards back in a blind. I only have foot trails. I don't have any ATV, so I drag everything out by hand or sled. Very thick forest. Actually looking for someone to forest some of my land because it's so thick. So I sit back, and if I get a small doe that walks by me, the old guy in me starts going, is this really worth it? I'm going to have to get out there and field dress it, pull it in, hang it, process it. So I'm kind of waiting. I let a couple pass. Had some spike bucks go by, had some does go by. I was waiting. We had a nice 8-point that I had my eye on that was on the trail cam, but it didn't come by my way. The bear was in the area a few days before, but we didn't see that black bear. But you want to know what? I've got private property. So we were open in December, got muzzle loading season, still got some chances. So who knows? You, my friend, give me the lowdown, because this is what we want to talk about on this episode. I wanted it to be we had James White on, and all we talked about was camping. Because he's in that camper right now. We didn't even talk about theology or doctrine. So I know we've talked about some of that stuff in the past when you've been on here. This episode, I want it to be the hunting episode, man. I want to talk about getting out, getting in nature, seeing the glory of God, getting connected with your food. I believe it's probably the purest way to get your food. All these leftist, crazy, hippie, liberal, whatevers think, killing these poor little animals, you're so mean. When in fact, most of them die of starvation or disease anyway. We're actually doing them a favor by rightly harvesting them that the Lord has given us dominion over. But I want to talk about all that stuff. And I might get a little techie on you too, because I saw the gun in your picture, and I'll show the picture here. I want to know kind of what you were using, where you were at. So let's get into it. First of all, did you grow up hunting, or is this something?
Yeah. So I would say I grew up as a professional hiker with a gun. Less than a hunter. And so I unlike yourself, I live in southern Idaho, and so I live in a lot of desert, rolling hills, canyon type of area. And so that's kind of been what my experience of hunting has been around a lot of that stuff. There is some mountains and some forest a little bit further down south and a little bit further up north. And sometimes I'll find myself going up there, but it's probably not nearly as thick as what you're talking about. But yeah, I was raised by a father who went hunting, grew up on a farm, went hunting when he was a little one. He helped me do my hunter's ed, and then we went out pheasant hunting, didn't get anything. We went out a couple times, didn't get anything. And that was about the end of my hunting
Right.
experience
Like,
with my
this?
father.
Yeah.
So I was really stoked about it, really happy about it. And then on the last show I was on, I talked about how I left the LDS religion. And so after leaving that, I got really into wanting to do coyote hunting, and that just developed into wanting to hunt more and more things. And slowly but surely, I'm getting more and more proficient at it.
Yeah. No, it is a skill and it is a craft, which I think is part of what I want to talk about as well too. Is like as men, we like to hone crafts and skills, and I think it's good for us to do so. Out where you're at, is coyote varmint? Can you just shoot him at will? Do you have to have a license, or what is it?
I believe you just have to have your hunter's license, if I remember correctly, but it is as many as you want, any time of the year that you want. In fact, don't take this advice from me, but I'm assuming even if the law was for you to have a hunting license, if you shot a coyote out here, they probably wouldn't say anything to you about it.
That's kind of how it is in Michigan. Yeah, they're everywhere, man. As soon as I field dress a deer and flop all those insides out, you'll go back the next day and it's like it wasn't even there. The blood off the leaves will be licked up. I mean, they get to them quick. I remember 4 or 5 years ago, I was up and it was our first time, I don't know, longer than that. Geez, 8 years ago when I first got the property, and my brother shot one right at dusk, about 5:25. So we're tracking it, not very far, but it's getting dark now. So we pull everything out there. Heck, we're not carrying in an extra 80, 90 pounds, dragging that in, at night. And I'm telling you, as we're cutting it open, you can just hear them in the, in the dark, probably 20, 30 feet away. Ooh, they're waiting. They just knew, and that was our first experience of going, okay, they're everywhere up here.
Yep.
But I got a neighbor who has a natural spring, and he has a right next door, and he has a spring, like a water company. I think Nestle wants to buy it off him for like millions of dollars, and he's like, nope, not selling out. Does his own little family thing, bottles his own water, super cheap. Just put the money in the in the little lockbox and grab how many ever gallons you want. And he's got a little hangout shed with a bathroom in it, and it's heated. And he's like, just come up anytime, man. We'll just sit right in the heated shed and eat jerky all night and just shoot coyotes all night. And so I'm going to go up there this year. I'm going to take him up on it. I think I'm just go up there. We'll just hang out all night and shoot coyotes. But
that's fascinating. I love it.
Yeah. So you did coyotes. Did you then get into later on get into deer hunting or big game, or how'd that go?
Yeah. So, and that's really where the hiking with a professional hiker with a gun came in, because there were several years here. So I just have unfortunate, I don't want to call it luck, because we don't necessarily believe in luck, right? But God has not seen it so that I would ever do a controlled hunt. So I have not ever actually drawn anything. So I put in every single year here in Idaho, and it seems like everybody else always draws. And so I've only done general hunts. And last year was actually my first year harvesting a deer. And prior to that, it was like 6 years of not seeing anything. And
really,
it was challenging. It was really, really hard. I saw some does, but never ever any bucks to be able to get on public land. And it was, there were several times that I think my wife included, we were saying, why am I doing this?
Right.
And so so like I said, this year has been a huge blessing. Last year was a huge blessing. Last year I got a deer and an antelope. This year I've gotten a bear, a deer, and an antelope. And I'm hoping still to be able to go get a cougar, and a wolf. I wouldn't eat the wolf, of course, but try to get a cougar and a wolf by the end of the year. I'm hoping.
Wow. What kind of bear was it?
It was a little black bear. I think she was 3 or 4 years old. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Bear meat's pretty good, actually. People, I don't know. It just says everyone, Joe Rogan made like elk meat all popular. And here in Michigan, we have a city called Atlanta, Michigan. It's the elk capital of the Midwest. I mean, they are everywhere and overpopulated. You can pretty much get a tag on site. And ever since he started talking about everyone, I sell as a real estate agent, I sell property up there to hunters all the time. Though they're paying $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 for like 5 acres, and then they're just hunting public land near there because you have to be in that area to pull a tag, But bear, man, I've had bear quite a few times. Never got to take a bear yet. So we were talking about offline. This year I was hoping to, but bear meat is really good. I thought sometimes you got to add a little
Mhm.
fat to it in some of the parts. Put a little
Yeah.
sausage in there, something, get a little
Yep.
fat going. But man, so good. So yeah, that's awesome. So you got deer, bear. What
Mhm.
was the other one you said? And you're hoping to go
An
cougar
antelope.
and
Yep, I'm
antelope.
hoping to get a cougar. Yep, hoping to get a cougar. I've heard really I know somebody that's harvested one in the past and said it's absolutely delicious, and so
Yeah.
I why not try it? I've never tried it before. I would love to do that, and
Hmm.
so, there's some cougar that are supposedly, reported in a place called the South Hills near where I live, and so, um,
What
try to
state
go
are
do
you in
that
again?
this year. Idaho.
Idaho, that's right.
Yep.
Oh man, okay. So I had a buddy that paid for a trip to go out to
Mhm.
Idaho with an outfitter for cougar.
Yep.
And he
Yep.
got one, and he was up in an area where you kind of have some elevation, some like foothills and stuff where I mean, he said it was pretty tough getting it out of there after they treat it and bringing it back
Yep.
because I think they're using dogs
Yep.
for 'em, yeah, right? And but he said it was like an experience. He's like
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome.
He actually might have came up really close to where I live at actually, because there's a lot of people that do that where they paid this certain outfitters to take them up, and that
Yeah.
this area is pretty well known for having cougars in the spots, right? Because they have outfitters out there with dogs that you just pay a certain amount of
Yep.
money and you go out and get a cougar.
I don't know, man. I've thought about doing that, but I just can't. I don't know. I mean, I guess I kind of did do it. I went to an outfitter in Alabama, and we did a. My father-in-law invited me on a duck hunt,
Okay.
and that was pretty sweet because we just had like 10 guys lined up.
Mhm.
You're 3 foot, 4 foot down in the water in your box, and you got the guy just calling them in. He's
Mhm.
calling. He's all right, guys, locking up, locking. And you flip that thing up, and you just got 10 guys stand up. Kapa, kapa. I mean, it's like Armageddon, right? These ducks are falling. We took like 85 ducks over 4 days between the 10 of us. I still got some of the meat in the freezer, but and duck is good. Oh, like a duck marsala is
Mhm.
delicious. But
Mhm.
that was something I guess, yeah, I did. That was technically an outfitter. And that
Mhm.
was just a good time though. It's like it was almost cheating because they knew all the spots. They got all the
Yeah.
decoys set out. They got the call. I mean, I just showed up with my gun and sat there and went,
Yep.
okay, you tell me when to pop up and start target shooting,
That's awesome. I'm jealous that you got to do that. That's one of the blessings that I have actually experienced last year. So one of the reasons I would say I was successful this year was last year I had some really godly men help me with hunting last year, and kind of
Okay.
showed me some of the improvements I needed to make in my approach and how I was doing things, and
Yeah.
that greatly benefited me this year. I don't think I would have gotten a deer or an antelope this year if it hadn't been
So
for
like
those
like
those
what?
guys.
So what's different between a deer and an antelope? Are they pretty much the same when you're hunting them? Kind of make sure the sight and they can wind pretty easy, wind you. Like is it that kind of stuff with the deer?
They can still wind you with antelope. The difference with a deer versus an antelope, deer like to go and hide in like the chutes and the valleys, right? The areas where,
Sure.
especially in the desert, right? Because everything's super flat, and so anywhere there's a little dip in the ground, that's where the deer are going to want to go and bed down, just so that they're out of the line of sight. Antelope are a little bit different, though. Antelope tend to go into the most open areas, the most flat areas that they can see everything, because their eyesight is phenomenal and they're fast, right? And so they put themselves in the best opportunity to get away from whatever's coming to
Mm,
chase them. And so where a deer, you sometimes you don't know that they're on the other side of the hill because they're in that valley, so you got to slowly walk over the hill, and then they're going to be down there. They may or may not see you. Antelope will see you a mile away, and they'll
right.
watch you, and once you get into a certain range, then they'll run away.
Yeah. And I'm sharing that picture right now. That
Cool.
antelope. What type of rifle you using right there?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, I wanted to take all my animals this year with a 357 lever action. That's what I took the bear with and the deer with this year. But since you cannot, like, it's really challenging to get close to those antelope just because of how well their eyes are. I took
Yeah.
with me a 300 Win Mag and a nice scope on there, and shot them from 250 to 300 yards,
Oh
just in
wow.
that range. And so, and that was after, so they spotted me at that range about 350 is when they spotted me, and when they were crossing in front of me, they got a little bit closer when they were trying to jet out of there, and one just stopped there. It was a doe. That was what my tag was, and was able to get the shot
Yeah.
off quickly on it.
So they were at what, about 250 for you think, or 300?
250 to 300. Yeah, it was just right in that
Wow.
ballpark.
Yeah. See, I got stuff that comes up on me 15 feet away in my
Really,
tree stand. Because I'm
really.
right on a run. And so, man, just imagining 250 yards. I mean, heck, when I sight in my scope at 100 yards, I'm like, I have to go back and re-sight in scopes at like 50 yards from my place up there. So going
Right.
250, and you've got a lot more. I mean, if you're at 250, every little movement, could be an inch or two off too. So
Yep.
you really got to be steady with that. So do you do any long range, like range shooting just to kind of practice, or at that
I do. I
distance?
haven't done a lot yet with that 300 Win Mag. I have a
Hmm.
AR-10 that I'm a really big fan of. I recently took that scope that was off that gun and put it on a different gun. So that AR-10 doesn't have a scope right now, unfortunately. But I've shot that gun at 1,000 yards before. Not
Wow.
at any animal, of course, but at just targets, and was able to hear and see the hit. So that was exciting stuff.
Jeez, you got Braden the sniper on the podcast today.
Far from
1,000
that.
yards.
You should see all my miss. I'm only talking about the hits
Okay.
right now.
Well,
It's like
well,
it's like a Kobe Bryant highlight, right? You're only going to see the
right.
the
Yeah, I
three
don't
pointers that
post
he
my
makes.
misses either.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny.
We don't need to talk about that. I hit all my shots. It's wonderful.
Right.
But yeah.
So you were talking about even having another gentleman help you and kind of train you to get better. And this is one of those things that I like to talk about, because I have some younger guys in my church and even some older guys that haven't experienced hunting. And I know it's not for everyone, but at the same time, for me, I find so many benefits in every aspect, from
Mhm.
training, really focusing and trying to get better at a craft, harvesting my own food. I mean, from field to table, probably some of the cleanest food that you can get. Even when there isn't any, even when I get skunked, I force
Mhm.
myself to sit in a blind for 4 to 6 hours at a time with no cell phone, and it's just me and the Lord, man. And talk
Yep.
about a time to meditate. Sure, you're looking and you're watching, but it is just you and God, and He will clear some stuff up with me real quick when I'm forced to sit there for hours and hours. I'll plan my year in my business, kind of year in the homeschool with the family. I'm sitting there and meditating on the Word. I just find the whole experience very cathartic, and is that the
Mhm.
right word? Yeah, cathartic, spiritual. Sounded like Ted Nugent, the spirit animal in me. You know what I mean? Though, just like the whole thing. And guys that don't experience that, and I know it's not for everyone, but that want to have that, I think there's a lot of good biblical things in that. And I think we've lost that. Here in
Yep.
Michigan, in the 80s, we had over 1.2 million licenses applied for annually, like in the mid 80s. Last year, 420,000. So
Mm.
you're almost down 800,000 licenses applied for over 30
Mm.
years. That's pretty crazy. There's just less people doing it, not wanting to do it. I don't know what the reasons are for. I think maybe some of it's social pressure as well too. It's just kind of fallen out of favor. But man, my grandfather and my great grandfather, that was like, hey, this is where we're getting most of our meat for the year when we go up. They
Yep.
they would take 2 or 3 at a time, put 150 pounds in the freezer, and you grow up on venison or whatever it
Yeah.
was. You know, um, what's your?
That those
Oh, go ahead.
statistics are remarkable though. Like just even like because I'm assuming Michigan has had the population grow, and so like
Oh,
to
it's
hear that
insane.
that is
Yeah, so
unbelievable.
I'm in a deer management unit. It's called a DMU where I'm at. I'm kind of
Mhm.
here's Michigan. You get to do the thing.
Mhm.
I'm up here, right? So
Okay.
you can take 3 with one tag, because it's, I mean, does everywhere up there. Bucks not so much. They kind of hide out. I'm up against
Really?
50,000 acres of public land against my 40 acres or 20 acres of private land. But but it's insane because less hunters. You have to realize too. There's a whole conservation thing with hunting.
Mhm.
People who go, "Oh, you're a big meanie. You're killing animals." Well, it's like, one, they're going to die anyway, most of the time by predator, disease, or starvation. So when I put one through the heart or lungs and it drops after 10 seconds, I'm actually doing it. It's a mercy killing at that point.
Mhm.
But two, it gets all out of whack with predators.
Mm.
I mean, it's just and now black bears are that way. Moose have come across from the UP when Lake Superior froze over about 5 years ago. So we've got this
Mm,
explosion of elk and moose in the lower peninsula in Michigan, which is really
mm,
disrupting things. We've spotted 3 wolves now, in they're all everywhere in the UP, but in the
yep.
lower peninsula. And those things, if they're hungry, they'll take pets, they'll take small children, which they did. There was one about 3 years
Really?
ago where they found the child. It was a little too big, I think, for the single wolf. He dragged it away about 200 yards, but they found it. But he was hungry.
Wow.
He's like, I need something. So it's this weird thing where, yeah, and because they've upped the license rate exorbitantly, because
Mm,
government loves taxes, and I think it's just between culture falling out of favor, and then that you got a thing where you got almost 800,000 less hunters every year, and then the population control just kind of goes a little wonky, because we got a lot. I mean, we got
yeah.
a lot of national forests in Michigan. It's maybe not quite
Yeah.
like Idaho, but there's a lot, especially in the UP.
That is unbelievable to hear. So what kind of, since you shoot, I that just to hear like you could take 3 with 1 tag, that is unbelievable to me.
Yeah,
So you could take 3 does if you wanted.
sure.
I
They do
hear
have a
so here
restricted on a combo. So there is a restricted
okay.
where you can only take four plus on one side for deer. So they don't want you
Okay.
out there taking. You can't take multiple large bucks, but
Okay.
doe. And then you can get extra doe permits for like $10. They're like, here, $10.
Really?
Take as many doe permits as you want. Yeah.
Yeah, so here in Idaho, you can't shoot a doe with a general tag. It has to be a buck here in Idaho, and so there's a lot of
Say,
people that walk away without any meat ever, like
yeah.
several seasons in a row. So that's remarkable to hear that.
So when you're out there hunting, do you kind of have those benefits that I was talking about too, as a believer, as someone who
Oh yeah,
understands that nature reflects the glory of God? Like, do you have some of those experiences well too, to where, thinking to yourself, this is important for me to do. My
yep.
wife is to the point now to where she knows, yeah, that's the week I'm up there, kind of need it. I joke. My brother told his wife when they first got married, she was giving him a little bit of a hard time. And he goes, look it. He goes, 100 years ago, I would have went out, shot it, got it for you,
Mhm.
prepared it for you. He goes, now I have to go to a store to buy my meat. It's in my DNA. I have to do this. He's like, I
Mhm.
have to. And it's kind of weird how it's like a visceral thing where it is, being the provider and the person, as a man, there is something about that where you really connect with kind of how probably right after the fall, how the created order was.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and you would see that even like with Genesis 9 with Noah, he's told to go out and kill anything and eat it, right? Like
Yeah.
there's there's well, and so there's several things on that, right? Like so on being out in nature, I think that's one. Like while we're not like spiritualists and saying, oh yeah, we go out and we see God out in the nature. Like I've
Yeah.
talked to some individuals that follow Thor in the past, and they're always like, "Oh yeah, the nature of this." And okay, there's something to be said about nature for sure, right? And I think that's why in the book of Job, like when God is speaking to Job out of a whirlwind, he refers to nature that magnifies who he is. He talks about
Yeah.
Job, tell me where the goat calves on the mountains, tell me where the shoreline comes and meets the beach, and all these just really remarkable ways that God describes himself in that text
One of my
in
favorite
Job
chapters, I
38
think, is what,
42.
38 in Job. Yeah.
Yep. Yep. 38 to 42 is just remarkable. It's just God hammering the truth down Job's throat, and Job can't speak after
Yeah.
that. And I think that you also see that with God's creation in Romans 2, right? That we can tell that there is a God just by seeing creation. And so we have to also remember like the context of when the Bible is written. It's not written when people are having a grocery store down the street from them and a vehicle. And so a lot of times when it talks about the creation, it's talking about a lot of the things that we don't typically see, right? And so I totally
Yeah.
agree with you. It's so wonderful to be out and in the wild,
Yeah.
having just some one well having time of prayer, having time of just intentionality, and recognizing God's creation is remarkable. And then I think like the effort, like even when somebody doesn't harvest an animal, the effort that somebody put in just magnifies like the sacrifice that individual had to make or did make to try to provide for the family. Like that
Yeah.
is something that I think says a lot about that individual.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And to your point too, yeah, it's not like we're sitting here and we're, Native Americans worshiping uh creation itself. It's a reflection of the creator, right? The same way
Yep.
that we admire a painting and go, wow, whoever painted that, beautiful. I mean, that's how I'm looking at it. And I can see that in anything. I mean, I just posted a picture on my on Twitter X a few weeks ago, and I have this beautiful maple tree in the backyard, and it turns out bright, fiery red and
Mm,
orange right in fall. And I just took a picture of it, put it up there, and I went, even in after the fall, in the death cycle of sin, to where a tree has leaves that has to die and then come
mm,
back. God gave us artistic beauty, even in that, through his common grace of going, yep, it's
yep.
going to have to die and rebirth because of sin, and there's death in the world. But I'm even going to give you a beautiful artistic rendering of this tree. As it dies, it becomes these beautiful, vibrant colors. And you go, wow, God, you're so good to us, even in
Mm,
those small things, to where the sign of the fall of sin is even marked with a beauty in the way he designed it, and that's a
yeah,
tree in my
absolutely.
backyard. People might think I'm a little crazy, but I'm standing there looking at it and going, it's just such a gorgeous, gorgeous thing. So you don't have to go out and kill your food to see the glory of God in nature. That's not what we're saying. But
That is
to
a
go to
very
this,
all mill statement though that you just made. I love it. Like because that's exactly how I look at things. That's exactly how I
yeah,
look at things. Like we look at the beauty of a tree and I'm like, man, that's so beautiful. Like to see it and then fall comes around. I'm like, man, it looks like death. Like uh, Christ died on a cursed tree for me. Like I do that all the time. So
yeah,
I'm happy to
right.
hear that the same rationality goes through your mind.
No, absolutely, it's biblical. And
Yeah.
then the other thing I would say too, which is very proverb-ish, is working towards a skill. You
Hmm.
see this a lot when you hunt. Here's the thing: anyone who hasn't hunted or goes out for small game, big game, whatever it is, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. If you're good, if you're just not shooting from the hip and wounding stuff, and I mean, you want to be accurate, you want to be good. Um, there's preparation with scouting and with what
Mm,
weapons you're going to use and where you're going to be and the times and how do I take this animal the best way possible. And there's all these things that go into it, which I think is good for men as well too. We're seeing a generation coming up where a lot of young men don't want to work at any one skill. I saw what was it, a Pew Research poll, and it said, this was 3 years ago, so it's probably skewed
mm,
now, but it said 85% of those 15 and under, which is a younger category, but okay, now they're not late teens. 15 and under think that they are going to make their first million from being a social media star.
mm,
Um, so 85%, 8.5 out of 10 kids go, oh no, I don't really need a real skill or a real job. I'm gonna do something online and become an influencer or whatever, podcast or whatever it is on social media, TikTok star. And I just went, how sad is that? Because, and look, I'm not right. We're on podcasts. We do media stuff. I'm
yeah.
not saying anything against that. I'm just saying it's such a lost kind of idea to work very hard at something, to hone a skill, and then get delayed gratification from it for maybe years. There was a couple
Hmm.
years, like 3, 4 years in a row, and I'm just nothing. And you start thinking to yourself, like, why am I out here? What am I doing? I'd least like the fruits of my labor a little bit so I could,
Hmm.
I'd really like to make some jerky here, or
Hmm.
some back straps or something. Uh, and you can get discouraged in it. And I think it's really good at training young men and heck, men of every age to really hone a skill, even if you don't have immediate gratification from it. And I found
Mm,
that's very beneficial to me as someone who is naturally impatient, who naturally wants to see the fruits of my labor right away.
mm,
I know that's a weakness in me. The Lord's dealing with me in that. Sanctification is a daily process. I'm getting better as I'm getting older, but very impatient with that. And it's helped
mm,
me go, nope, have a goal. It might be far off, but keep working at it. You might not see the results today, tomorrow, or next year, but you will eventually. Have you ever gone through some of that too? Or heck, as a hunter, ever had that dry spell and just go, oh my gosh, what
Oh
am I
yeah.
doing out here?
Oh yeah, and that especially those years that went by where I just didn't see anything, and it was such a morale kick in the hiney in those ways. And so like,
Yeah.
and I think that what you just expressed with something that the Lord is working on you with, I think He's working on that with me as well. And I think that that's a pretty common hardship, a pretty common process of sanctification in today's generation that like has things instantly at the fingertips, right? And so I think that's where going back on the how we don't have we have generations now that are not into wanting to hunt. It's because everything is just right there at their fingertips, right? I can do
Yeah.
a grocery pickup on my phone while I drive there. I can have my kids in the back watching Bluey, right? Which I love Bluey, right? They're in the back watching Bluey. And then also at the same time, I can pull up to the thing, and then I don't have TikTok, but I could be on TikTok, right? And I get instant gratification
Yeah.
over and over and over and over again during that. Whereas hunting, it's going out, it's having patience, it's enjoying God's creation, and then hopefully,
Yeah.
and sometimes it doesn't, but then like hopefully you harvest something. Hopefully you take care of the meat properly. Hopefully you get it to a refrigeration place quickly.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can butcher it. Hopefully you can then have your wife. So tonight, my wife made homemade sourdough bread with deer roast.
Mm,
Right, like I'm sitting there, like just
yeah.
so thankful to the Lord that here is my wife who is a homemaker, and she is being satisfied in her role for what I was able to be satisfied in my role as a husband to provide for the family in, right? And so it's just
Yeah.
it wasn't instant gratification, but the gratification was far beyond the instant doing just a grocery pickup, right?
Yeah. No, it's so good. It must be sourdough season. My wife just made some homemade sourdough about 4
Nice.
days ago, and we ransacked
Oh,
those loaves, dude. It gets a little chilly
so
here.
good.
You get a little warm butter on there with some
Hmm.
chili or soup or something. Oh, it's my
Hmm.
it's like crack
Hmm.
at some point.
Hmm.
But same thing. You're sitting there and you're like, here's the food I harvested the bread that my wife made. I mean, it's just an amazing thing. I really think man, the secularists and the pagans, they just don't know what they're missing out on, man.
Hmm.
They have been sold a bill of goods of what is supposed to make you happy, what is, and I think we see it in our society with suicide rates through the roof, addiction to anxiety medication through the roof, all these different issues that people have, mental health issues in the country. And you go, man, maybe we just need a little meat, a little homemade bread, a little God,
Hmm.
a little Bible, a little family, and a little land.
Hmm. It would go a
and
long ways. It would
you
go a
go a
long
long way.
ways.
You know what I mean? But getting back to the training part too is, Proverbs says a lot about quickly gotten gain, things that come
Mm.
very easy, right? And we're in a very kind of quick get easy culture right now. And boy, does that just mess with your mental health when everything is quick, fast, cheap, convenient. There is nothing better than delayed gratification in many
Yep.
things,
Well,
whether it
like
be
that.
hunting. Yeah,
That's the
go ahead.
Christian life right now, right? Like, yeah, that's the Christian
Yeah,
life, right?
very
We're
true.
being sanctified for ultimate glorification, and so it's this process right now for us that we're going through, and it's an
Huh.
ongoing process of up and downs, and there's
I
not an
wonder if
instant
that's why
unless.
I wonder if that's why believers kind of tend to like that delayed gratification because that's the life we're living right now spiritually.
Yeah, it's
Even
it's all.
sanctification is kind of, yeah, day by day.
It's
And, we know what the promise is. That's a good,
yep. It's an
I've never
all.
thought of it
It's an
that way.
already not yet. It's an already not yet.
Already not yet.
I'll mail.
Yeah.
I'll mail.
Yeah. I'm no baby. Uh, it's nice to be around another miller. I'm around these
Yes.
post mills all the time, and I go, look at we're close. I'm optimistic I'll mill, but I just can't get there quite yet. But excuse me. Yeah, so a lot of good stuff going on there. So give me like what are you doing on a typical hunt like with this antelope? Is it blind? Is it you're on an open plain, so is it you're in a blind or ground blind? Like, what is it? How often do you have to get up early? When do they move? I'm just interested in the
Yeah,
logistics of this because I've never hunted antelope before. And
yeah,
I'm just being selfish.
and I would say like antelope is like really similar to deer with being up early in the morning, right? You're going to see
Okay.
them move more. Right now with the weather in Idaho getting colder, I'm assuming it's the same thing with Michigan right now. It's probably pretty
Yeah.
cold out right now. Um,
Yeah.
they'll still move throughout the day, but it's just more likely you're going to see something at daybreak. But yeah, so my goal this year, so the bear that I got this year was with a good brother in Christ. Went up with me, helped me harvest that, helped me get that. He was the one that spotted it, told me about it. We went out together, and we walk and stalk and got it right on public ground again. The deer was one that it was kind of a area that I'd been watching, and I was like, okay, there's life in this area. There's evidence of deer here. Like, I really want to come back and try to hunt this spot. But the antelope, my goal this year with the antelope. It was a depredation tag, so it was given to me from a land owner's appreciation tag, is what it is here in Idaho, and so it was gifted to
Yeah.
me. And so my goal was I wanted my whole family to be there when I killed it, and so I wanted my wife there. I wanted my oldest son Shepherd, my middle son Owen, and then my youngest son Nehemiah to be there with that
Yeah.
happening. Especially for my oldest son Shepherd, he's 4 years old. I want him to watch dad have frustration, have success, have even to be able to watch it be gutted, and then ultimately, so we're going to be butchering it tomorrow. So have him watch that whole process, and hopefully just eat something right then and there, and just have him see that whole circle come together. And so that was my goal with the antelope, was that. In the back of my mind, and he got to see a lot of frustration. so that was good. But yeah, so the antelope they usually gather in large herds. You'll find pockets here and there of 5 and 20. The one that I shot this one out of was 100 plus, all just in this open flat in the desert in public ground, really close to. Somewhat close. I mean, it was probably a mile off, maybe a half a mile off of private alfalfa out here, and so it was it was eating off of his stuff, eating off of sagebrush, kind of going back and forth. And so I had watched them a couple for a little while, come in and out of this guy's property, so I knew where they were already located out for the most part. And so the big part was just getting up high, somewhere that you could see over the flat, see on the hills. Start spotting, and then drive down as close as you can to them. These antelope are so used to drivers, because antelope is a really rare tag in Idaho to get. So like they're always controlled hunts. There is no open hunt that I know of in Idaho. And so they're really like used to vehicles. Like, I think it actually freaks them out more to see a person rather than a vehicle. Like, I feel like I could drive up, like drive
close,
versus walk up to an antelope, right? And so, and especially because they're out in the desert, they have side by sides and 4-wheelers and motorcyclists that are out there all the time having a good time, enjoying nature, and in those ways they just kind of get used to that stuff. And so it was just an open flat. Saw him, was able to drive up, get behind a little bit of a hill, get out of my vehicle, have the family watch me, and just watch that whole process of getting up on top of this.
No way, that's cool.
Hill, and then make the shot. So like it was exciting for that. And so yeah, it was good.
That's awesome. All right, so you had the whole family with you. What was the temperature like? Was it kind of cooler, or was it a more warmer day?
It was still cold out. You still needed to wear some sort of long sleeve out there. Right now, our weather has been kind of up and down in Idaho.
Yep.
So like right now outside, it's pretty cold and windy. That day wasn't that bad out. Like I would say it was probably in the 40s, low 50s, low 50s maybe.
Interesting. Yeah. No, that's cool, man. So,
and my wife grew up as a vegetarian too. So like,
as a vegetarian, you said?
As a vegetarian. And so like,
oh wow,
she's come a long way. And so like, I love my wife. She's being sanctified all the time in multiple ways. And that's one of the ways is that. And so she made the deer roast tonight and loved it.
There you go. What's cool with that too is when you get the kids involved at a young age. My father had pigs for a while, and my 2 girls were like 4 and 6, maybe 3 and 5. And they named the pigs that were going to go to slaughter eventually. And they named one of them Bacon, which I thought was a little on the nose, but
Good.
okay.
Yeah.
And then, a year later, we slaughtered it. We're eating eggs and bacon out at Grandpa's house. And they said, "Who's this, Bacon?" And he said, "Yep, you're eating bacon from Bacon." And they kind of made the connection that, okay, this is food. So it's like kind of this weird thing too, where you're kind of instilling that created order, even in a young kid,
Yep.
uh, of this is good. This is a good thing. We're raising our food. God is giving us sustenance and blessing us with these things, and they understand it from a young age. And heck, they didn't even know they were eating venison in their spaghetti until they hit like 7 or
Mm,
8 years old. I just
mm.
sneak it in
That's
there.
awesome. That's awesome.
uh,
I,
but yeah,
I think it's great. I think it's great in spaghetti. So I probably would choose to have that in there rather than cow meat.
yeah.
So that's awesome. That's good.
Cool. So if someone's listening right now, what would you tell a young man who's thinking about, man, maybe I should get into that? Grandpa used to do it, used to talk about it. Dad didn't ever take me out. Maybe I'm a young guy and I'm thinking, or maybe he has a young family or something. What would you would you
Mhm.
would you tell him? Yeah, take a stab at it, or what would you tell
Uh, Absolutely, and get ready for disappointment, but that's a good thing. It'll help build your character. But yeah, you need to go get a rifle, go get a rifle with a decent
him?
caliber
Right.
of some kind. Get a
Yeah.
scope, get a set of binoculars. You need binoculars. There was a couple of years there where I was like, I don't need binoculars, and that just screwed me over. Go get binoculars, save up the
Mhm.
money, and buy a decent pair of binoculars. Get cheap camo.
Yeah.
If you want the expensive stuff, I guess, but you get cheap camo. Doesn't really matter at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
just get out and do it.
Find
It's
yourself
totally
find yourself a good mentor too. A guy that's been
yep.
doing a little bit, has some tricks of the trade, just isn't a talker, but to actually, pulled in some animals. I've always found that very helpful as well. It's like in
Yep.
anything, right? Like even in discipleship and mentorship and anything in life, running a business, family, marriage, get someone who's been there and done it. And it's
Mhm.
fun too, because you get to learn and swap stories, and I'd say that'd be pretty beneficial too.
Oh yeah, no,
Cool.
absolutely. Don't totally get a mentor. I like that was some of my well, and I got to do it with my kids this year. So like last year, getting immediately after killing my first deer, getting to pray with my brother in Christ right then and there. Like before we
Yeah.
even got down to the meat, just being, Lord, thank you. Like I see a dead deer down there, Lord, thank you. Like that is so wonderful. And then this year, like getting to do that with the brother in Christ that helped me with the bear, and then getting to do that with my son, like and what have him, like I said, have him see dad get disappointed, have him see dad repent to God at just being disappointed with it, and be in prayer for that, and then to be praying
Yeah.
as my son is standing over a dead antelope, right? Like
Yeah.
find a mentor that wants to see it as a time to disciple even you in a way that is God glorifying.
Oh, no, that's good. Awesome. Cool. So, hey, last time you were on, as we finish this up here, I don't think we
Mhm.
got to do Fresh 10 with you, did we? Did we do Fresh 10 segment with you? Where we ask you
Oh, I
10
don't think we
fresh
did.
questions so the listeners can get to know you a little bit more. It's
Okay.
10 rapid fire questions. You don't know what they're going to be. And they don't have to be long answers, but they're just to get to know Braden a little bit more. You want to
Okay.
play?
I'm totally in. We did not do this last time, so I'm excited for this.
All right, let's do it. Here we go.
Yo, can we kick that one more time? Let's go. I'm fresh. I'm fresh. I'm fresh.
All right, here we go. Braden Patterson on Fresh 10. Number one, what city and state did you grow up in, and how did it affect your childhood?
Boise, Idaho. I really, really loved it. It's definitely a different city now, and so I'm a little sad every time I drive back there. It's gotten a lot bigger, but it was a blessing being in Boise. There, the people that I grew up when I was growing up there were really, really kind. It's kind of gone downhill now, but it was
Okay,
a blessing.
awesome. Question number two,
Yeah.
what's your favorite funny story to tell people?
Ooh.
What's a good
Ooh.
story? Everyone's laughing, they're having a good time, and you go, I got a funny story for you. This happened to me, or this happened to a friend of mine, or you got one?
Ooh. I do a lot of dark humor things though, because being
Me
a
too.
firefighter, it might not be good on there.
Okay.
Could I come
Okay, you
back
don't
to
have
that
to
one?
tell the
Let me
whole.
come. Let me.
Yeah, okay, you
Could
don't
I
have
come
to
back
tell
to
the
that
whole
one?
story, but it's probably some type of dark blue sarcastic humor we're going to go with,
Yeah,
which
yeah,
is why I
yeah.
like you. Question number 3. The flux capacitor is fluxing. You get into the DeLorean. Are you going back to visit your great 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 grandfather, or are you going into the future to visit your great 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 grandkids?
Man, I'm going back. I'm going
Going
back.
back.
I'm
Okay, why
going
is
back.
that?
I gotta tell my great 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 grandpappy, I don't know his name, not to join the LDS religion, and then go do some
Same.
sweet hunting with them. So
There you
uh,
go. Yeah,
that's
where you
actually a
didn't need
pretty
a.
funny story how my
What's
great
that?
great great grandpa became a Mormon. Well, on my dad's, so on my mom's side, I'm related to Brigham Young. On my dad's side, he had the reason he became a Mormon was he hated his neighbor so much. And his neighbor one day came over who hated him and was like, "Hey, there's Mormon missionaries coming around here. Don't let them in. They're evil." And so my great 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 grandpappy, however many greats back, hated his neighbor so much that he let the Mormons in. And not only that, but he took the Mormons over to the fence and had them talk very, very loud so that the neighbor could hear. And that's why
Wow.
I am
He became a
LDS today.
Mormon out of spite.
So yeah, I'm a product of spite Mormonism.
Spite Mormonism. Never heard that. Okay. Very
Yeah.
good. All right. Question number 4. What's something people would be surprised to know about you?
Surprise. Well, okay, yeah. A lot of Christians. This is a hot topic. I make tobacco pipes. I'm the owner of Donner's
Yeah.
Oak Company, and
Shout out to
love.
Donner's Oak. Go get yourself a
Yep,
pipe. I
amen to
see the
that.
pictures.
Go get one. They're turning out really good. I'm really enjoying them. They smoke phenomenally, and
Yeah.
so that would probably be a good one. A lot of people might not know as I like
Okay.
making tobacco pipes.
Very cool. Top 3 bands or music albums that you that either you're taking with you on the deserted island or that just have influenced you the most. It doesn't
Ooh,
have to necessarily be it can be albums or just bands in general.
okay.
And it can be influenced for better
That's
or for
a good
worse
one.
too.
So I love Sovereign Grace music for hymns. I
Sure.
love them. Love their stuff. I would say Coulter Wall for a secular artist. I really have
Okay.
enjoyed his stuff recently. I kind of go back and forth in moods of what I like and what I don't like. Beautiful
Yeah.
Eulogy is just something that somebody recently turned me on to. Really enjoying their stuff. I like
Well,
Christian
what
rap
kind of what's
stuff.
that? I haven't heard of them.
It's a Christian Reformed Calvinistic rap, which
Oh,
is
okay, cool.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And in my young days before I was a Christian, I really loved Tupac. Tupac influenced me
Yeah.
the most.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. All right, moving right along. Question number 6. Favorite thing to do when you just want to relax?
go hunting. Go hunting.
Yeah. All right, go hunting. That's
Truly,
a good.
go hunting.
Yeah,
Yep.
good answer. Question number 7. What do people misunderstand about you the most? What's something that you get misunderstood about? You go, no, that's not really. No.
Oh yeah, so to all my lovely dispensational friends out there, that as an
I,
all-millennialist, I would say I read the Bible literally, but they would not say so. So yeah, I read the Bible with
uh,
how the author intended it to be read, and that's literal.
that's funny. I've asked this question to a lot of different people, and they always go with like a personality thing. And you went theology. I like it.
Yeah.
All right, if you could sit down for a cup of coffee with any historical figure outside of Christ,
Mm,
who would it be? Dead or alive? Past or present?
we're alive.
You
Ooh,
got 10 minutes to drink coffee with them. Historical figure, theologian, scholar, president, celebrity.
10 minutes to drink with them too. That is a good question. There's so many good people. You could say Charles Spurgeon, and that would be like I think the easy cop out. You go like
That's not a
Luther,
cop
and
out. I mean, that's a good cup of coffee because I'd have
that
a
is a
cigar
good
with them
cup.
too.
Look, it would be a well, you wouldn't be able to smoke the whole cigar. It'd only be like an inch of the cigar, right? In 10
That's
minutes.
true.
It'd be
Okay.
wonderful
Well,
though. Like that would be a
I guess we don't
blessing.
have to put a time limit on it. You can have an hour. Well,
Okay.
this is
Well,
my
that
game. I
changes the
can change the
story
rules
then.
anytime I want.
That changes the story then.
I think
Um,
Spurgeon's a good one though.
yeah, maybe George Whitfield would be a good one. I would
Oh,
love
that's a
to
good one.
just to kind of hear his passion and maybe try to see
Yeah.
how that could influence me. Jonathan Edwards would be great. and hear his blandness and
Yeah.
how that would influence me, maybe.
I always thought I'd like to talk
Yeah,
to John Knox because I think he had a little
yeah,
rebel in him like I do, and we could
yep.
just go like, you know what I mean? We'd probably get along. Okay, question 9. We got 2 left. What's your favorite movie or who's your favorite actor? Either one.
Ooh, favorite movie or favorite actor? My wife and I, we watched Shutter Island once, and we thought it was fantastic. That was a
Is that the
great
one where
movie.
he's
That
always
was a
there?
thriller.
That's the one where he's like
The
thinking he's a
yes,
detective.
yes,
Dude, that one's
that one
awesome.
is that one is a killer of a movie. That one's wonderful. We just recently saw another type of movie like that I really enjoyed, and I cannot remember what it was off the top of my head. That's gonna bum
Hmm.
me out now. But it was similar mindset to Shutter Island in its thrilling aspect, and I was like, that was a
So is
phenomenal
that what you
movie.
kind of go for, like dystopian thrillers? Or are you a drama guy,
Yeah.
comedy guy? Like what?
Okay, I do like comedies. I think you'd have to be a maniac not to like a comedy.
Right.
I really like thrillers, something that just grips you, and you're just like, what? Like just mind blowing. But
Yeah,
I
those are
say that,
good.
and I've never seen Inception, right? And so like,
That's another
there's
good one. Yeah.
yeah, and I've never seen that one. And so like I'm kind of behind the curve in a lot of ways because growing up LDS, I like my first R-rated movie. Maybe I shouldn't say this publicly. My first R-rated, my first PG, it wasn't even R. My first PG-13 movie that I'd ever seen
Yeah.
was when I was 19 years old, and it was 27 Dresses with my girlfriend at the time, now wife. I'm ashamed to say it,
Yeah.
but so I
Yeah.
missed out on a lot of good
That's the one
movies.
you I don't know what's the I don't want to say popped your cherry, but that's not good to say. That's the movie the PG-13 27 dresses, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's funny. You know what's a good kind of crazy thriller that's a little not thriller, but kind of like that make you think one. And this is like
yeah.
from the 90s, but it's called Memento.
Mm,
You ever see that movie?
okay, I'll have to check it out. I haven't.
Go watch it. It has the guy who he's played in like Count of Monte Cristo and a couple other movies. You
Okay,
know the actor, but I don't want to spoil it by telling you how it's shot. But it is written brilliantly. You get to the end and
okay.
you're like, "What the heck?" Memento, and
Mm,
it's pretty clean.
mm.
There's not
I'll have
whole
to
lot of
check it
stuff in
out.
it. All right, last
Yeah.
question for Fresh 10. Here we go. What is a book outside of the Bible that everyone should just at least pick up and take a look at and read through, flip through? It can be
Yeah,
fiction, nonfiction, theological, outside the Bible. One book that you'd go, yeah, every person needs to take a look at it. Could be
so my
classical
wife
literature.
yeah, so 2 books. So I think every Christian ought to read Attributes of God by A.W. Pink, not
Mm,
Tozer, A.W. Pink. I'm sure
own it.
Tozer's is great and good, but A.W. Pink is phenomenal.
Yep.
Um, and then my wife and I are currently reading every morning through Pilgrim's Progress. So like
Oh,
that one's a given though. Pilgrim's
so
Progress
good.
is awesome. Yeah.
They've
I did
got
think of my
on.
I
Go
was
ahead.
gonna say I did think of a funny story that I can tell that's not too dark of a humor too, so I
Okay,
can
go
answer
ahead.
number 2.
Go back to
So
number
number
2.
2, when I was working one time at the medics in another town. So I work as a firefighter full time, but this is many years ago. There was a new firefighter for the city that I worked in, and he was super excited to be there. And so he was gun ho, like every firefighter ought to be in a certain way. And so we lifted this. It was a call to a lift assist for an obese person that was
Sure.
having a hard time taking care of themselves. And so they needed lifted up and be put into another chair. And so they were on a commode, right? Well, we lifted them up. The person pulled up their pants. The firefighter's gung ho, and so he comes in, grabs the person's arm, doesn't let the captain touch it, right? Thinking he's doing the right thing. And a perfect emoji turd, right, that everybody knows on the phone, falls out
Yeah.
of the pant leg right on the guy's foot. And just right on top of the firefighter's boot. And I just remember
Oh
everybody
no.
just looking at it, just, oh, that just
Oh
happened.
my gosh. So the funny thing about that is I have a good friend that's a firefighter in
Yep.
Ohio, and he went up hunting with me 3 years ago, and he just regaled me of all of the stories that fire. I mean, the calls they get, and he down there. He's in Toledo, Ohio, so he said we get a call
Yeah.
once a week from the same lady who wants us to take her microwave dinner out of the, uh, you know, microwave because she can't get to it like every Monday at 7 o'clock. Oh,
Yep.
it's Deborah again or whatever. But just insane stories. I swear we were laughing, but then I was also just like, what? This is the stuff you deal with. A lot of that
Yep.
kind of stuff too, where You're dealing with medical issues, obesity. You're dealing with toilet issues. And like, you just never think that. They all run into, structures on fire, but the whole kind of care outside of that, I mean, it's a wide range when you're a firefighter.
Mm-hmm. It's one of those. It's so awesome because, well, first of all, you get to see depravity firsthand in a lot of ways that people don't, and you're going into people's personal, private circles, right? Which a lot of people don't see, and then you're getting called. It's wonderful because every firefighter knows it, but like at the Thanksgiving dinner table, like Thanksgiving will be this week, a lot of times firefighters feel like they can't pipe up with a story because all their stories are story toppers, and they're usually story toppers that bring in really weird humor. And so,
or maybe not proper for a Thanksgiving dinner too, from what I learned from my buddy.
Definitely, probably not.
Yeah. All right, there we go. You went back to 2, you got all 10. We knew a little bit more about you. There we go. That was Fresh 10.
Can we kick that one more time? Let's go. I'm fresh.
All right. Well, there it is, man. The hunting episode with Braden Patterson. So good to have you on, brother. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day. We just sit down, chat, talk about things that we both enjoy. I encourage any of you out there listening. Heck, if you have any questions about hunting or discipleship, or heck, even some mill questions or theological questions, get a hold of Braden or myself. Braden, where can they find you online and on social media? Where are you hanging out at?
Yeah, so on YouTube, Reformed Ex-Mormon, that's my YouTube channel that I upload a lot of just random things to. I'll sometimes do stuff about tobacco, sometimes about popular topics, sometimes on millennialism or my sermons, just random things like those, or evangelism or Mormonism. My Facebook, I almost called it the channel, my Facebook page, just under Braden Patterson. On there would be a good place to always reach out to me. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I just recently got Twitter. I got 3 followers so far, so I'm moving on up in the world. But I don't think you need to go.
Come on, guys, let's get him some followers on there. Throw out that handle. Let's get you some followers.
Okay, I got to look at it. So one of the reasons I didn't download Twitter was because, like, my friend told me to. My co-elder at my church at Valley Baptist told me to download it, and I looked at it, and I couldn't find Twitter. They changed it to X. I didn't know this. This was new information for me. And so I was like, I don't know what it is. Reformed Ex-Mormon. Reform Ex-Mormon is my.
Spell it for us so we can link it up.
Yeah, so REFORM EXMORM.
There you go. Reform Ex-Mormon. We'll link it up in the episode. You guys can go check them out. Let's get him more than 3 followers. I'll make sure I go follow you so I can tag you in this too.
Appreciate
when it goes
it,
live. But Braden, thanks for being here, bro.
It was
you have a good
Thanksgiving.
Blessing. All right.
Likewise.
True blessing for me too. Have a good Thanksgiving, a good Christmas. If I don't talk to you, I'm going to see you in February at the Calvinism conference, and you guys will be hearing more about that. Obviously, you already heard the ad at the top of the show for it. We like supporting Jeff and everything he's doing out there, and we're going to be doing some live podcasting from there too, hosting a post-conference session. So you're going to get to hear all about it, and you'll hear probably from Braden too on there, and you'll see him pop up on our social media. So guys, thanks so much for listening. Thanks for visiting DMWpodcast.com, supporting the show. Like I said, got a sale, spend $50, 25% off all products. Get yourself some snarky merch, support the show. And as always, remember the chief end of man, glorify God and enjoy him forever. God bless. Be sure to check us out at DMWpodcast.com, where you can purchase the best and snarkiest merch on the internet, support the show, and leave us a review or message. Dead Men Walking can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Dead Men Walking Podcast, and on Twitter X at Real DMW Podcast. The Dead Men Walking Podcast is part of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. For exclusive show content, be sure to download the PubTV app and become a member. If you're a business that needs to reach hundreds of thousands of potential customers in your demographic, podcast advertising might be for you. Send all inquiries to deadmenwalkingpodcast@gmail.com.
None your biscuits.